Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to a special episode of Basement Gas. I was in London recently, and before I went, I did a bit of research to see what kind of legendary vintage guitar shops there are in London, and I got in touch with Hank's Guitar Shop in Denmark Street. Here's what I have to show. So, Justin, I appreciate your time, obviously.
No problem, yeah.
So, you've been running Hank's Guitar Shop since 1985?
Yeah, 85. Yeah, time passes quick, eh? Yeah, but 1985, yes.
So, give us a brief rundown. What's happened in the last 33 years?
Obviously, the market's changed. Obviously, we specialise in vintage guitars. In 85, probably it was really the terminology was more used guitars, and it's only probably the last 10 or 15 years that the word vintage has come about.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what we've been doing.
So, has the word vintage sort of been? Does that raise the price tag instantly when you talk about vintage and used?
Obviously, the prices are higher.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the market in vintage guitars has changed. People are more specific. 15, 20 years ago, we would sell anything. The word vintage came about, and we would just sell anything that was second-hand as vintage. People now are more specific, so people are more brand orientated. So
Sure.
Just because it's an old guitar now, you can't necessarily sell it. Customers now have, probably the hottest vintage guitar still a Strat or a Tele or a Les Paul.
Would you say also that relic guitars have kind of replaced that as well now? That
I think relic guitars or a lot of reissues have probably detracted from the vintage market, because years ago, if you wanted a certain style of guitar, you would have to buy an original one. Now, obviously, Fender and Gibson have brought relics, so it probably, makes the guitar or that style more available to the mass market because the price point, And in some ways, that's probably lessened the vintage market to a point.
Would you say there's a difference in tone?
Yeah, definitely. Old guitars, like an old pair of shoes, really. They do sound different. When you can't, and that you can't replicate. It's not hype. It's fact.
Okay. So I saw on the website, for example, you really take pride in legendary gear. You've had stuff in here from, I think, David Bowie, George Harrison, Gary Moore.
Yeah, we've got David Bowie, Gary Moore. We just got Neil Young's original Gretsch 6120 in, which was, his original 60s one that he used at Woodstock and various things like that.
Wow, that's impressive. What would you say is like the most historic or legendary gear you've had?
We had Elvis Presley's original D28 in a few months ago, which was his last stage used guitar. We've had Keith Richards' original 59 Burst, which is $1 million guitar. We've had various artists' guitars like that.
So would you just go on the hunt for these things? You travel around the world?
We've been doing travel it around the world. I've been doing it a long time, so we've got a good database. We've got 3,000 to 5,000 people that we send regularly, weekly mail shots for either wanting equipment or selling equipment. So we've got a good, strong database.
Yeah. So this is obviously a main street for guitar stores. It's right on the border of the West End.
Yes.
Is that sort of being on the border of the West End, has the artistic movement is it baked in the walls, or it's something that's sort of progressed over the years?
Well, this is a famous street for probably the last 20, 25 years for guitar shops. Before that, it was really for a famous street for studios and record companies or sheet music companies. All the music shops used to be around the corner on Shaftesbury Avenue and Charing Cross Road in the 60s. And most music shops moved on this area in the 70s, which is just around the corner.
Yeah. Have you had any crazy guitar pedals? I don't know. There are different effects nowadays. Or weird amps that might pass through the doors?
It depends what your definition of weird amps. We get a lot of boutique amps. We get a lot of vintage amps. Boutique amps. We get things like Dumbles in train wrecks that are €100,000 amplifiers. So they are big money. On the vintage terms, we'll get like Clapton Blues Breakers in JTM 45s. High-powered twins, stuff like that.
With a market tending more towards sort of digital modelers and lower wattage amps, is there still a market open for these really loud things?
We found, generally in the last few years, we've noticed, especially studios, they want the real thing again. They don't. They've gone all this modelling amps and things. People do want the real thing, you know. And we've noticed that in the last 2 years. And it's not purely guitar-related products. It's all valve compressors. You know, people go into analog desks, and you know, they are wanting the real thing again because they can feel it and touch it and use the controls.
Sure.
You know, so
you tend towards more valve amps.
Yes.
You feel they have the warmer sound?
They do sound different. You know, sampled amps and sampled effects are there for a reason. It's ease of use, but you can't beat the real thing.
Yeah. How would you say has the English guitar culture changed since you've been in the business, especially like with younger generations?
You know, younger generations, just like anything, we've discussed it in depth. They do want instant gratification. Really, the last guitar revival we saw in the UK was probably Oasis based and Noel Gallagher based, really, and Britpop. That was really the last, guitar craze we saw.
Where younger people thought,
people, on a Saturday we noticed it in the shop. We would get, hundreds of 12, 14, 15-year-olds playing guitar, but that was really 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah. So your target audience for the shop is what, music studios or famous?
I would say, obviously, regarding because we sell mainly vintage and used, probably our average buyer is 35 plus. Would you say, Shane?
I would say so. Yeah.
35 plus.
Okay.
Really. So regarding the high end, people are buying it for partly investment. If they've got the money, they can and afford the real thing. So.
Okay. Does Hanks do anything to sort of encourage younger, inspiring artists? Now that it's easier to record at home, and
we don't really. I mean, we are enthusiastic to young guys who come in. We don't really do anything to promote it, but.
Always got very affordable things
Yeah,
for beginners.
we do low end guitars. We sell guitars from £100, £150. So we don't purely sell all high end. That's what we specialise in, vintage and used. But we do sell lower end products as well.
Yeah. So, what if you could have an ideal guitar pass through these doors? If you're looking for something have you been on the search for something ideal that you'd love to get in the stores and maybe sell to?
I think generally ideal. I mean, if you're looking at, we specialise in a lot of used acoustics, D28 Martin, D28s, D35s. The ideal vintage guitar, if you want a vintage guitar electric, is still a Strat. So we're always looking for old vintage Strats, at affordable levels, really.
Or the 1959 Les Paul.
Yeah, I mean, a 59. We've got a 58 Les Paul in the cabinet. That's 160,000, or 200,000 euros there, 180,000 euros. A 59 Les Paul. We sold a lot. I bet we sold 9 or 10 to collectors last year.
Really?
But what I will say is, and people say, well, 200,000 euros for a guitar, yes, partly it is investment, but they do sound different than a reissue, $5,000 or $6,000 euros for a reissue, the real thing does sound different.
Yeah, sure.
Is it worth 190,000 difference? Probably not, but you're not purely buying it for that.
Do you have any ever problems with certification or verification that it really isn't?
I've been doing it a long
Relic one?
time,
Yeah.
so I've been doing it since I'm 13. I'm 48 years of age, so
you can identify it just in a second.
just by looking at the guitar. So anything we sell like that, we offer a full return policy, and we give a verification letter from ourselves as well to confirm its originality.
Do you have any connection to America? Do you have any?
We're buying guitars. We buy guitars in America and Europe. What you will find, prices in Europe are very, very similar to the US now. It's a worldwide market. So you can go to the US and within reason it can be 10 or 15% difference. That's all. It's a worldwide market now because of the internet. So prices are pretty much the same worldwide.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
$550.
Right. Well, I really appreciate it. One final question. What would you say for beginner guitarists? Is it more important to start off with an acoustic or an electric, or does it really depend on what you're going to play on?
Depending on what sort of style of music you're going to do, really. What do you say? I would say, yeah, depending what style of stuff you're into. If you're into rock and roll, you probably buy an electric guitar.
Because it's always encouraged for younger kids to maybe start off on a classic guitar with nylon strings.
my son, he's in a band now, and he started off with an electric guitar because he wanted to jump around in his bedroom and be a rock and roll star. So whatever you're into, really, I'd suggest.
Okay. Great. Well, Justin,
Okay,
I really
great.
appreciate your time.
No problem.
Thanks a lot, and best of luck to you.
Yeah. Okay.
Good luck on your hunt for legendary gear.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So all in all, if you ever make a trip to London and you're a guitar enthusiast, check that store out. It's got some fantastic, very cool stuff in it, just the overall vibe. I was a bit overwhelmed at first, but the fact that they have some literally legendary stuff in there every now and then. It happened when I was there. It was literally, they had Neil Young's guitar from his performance at Woodstock. I got a look at it. Here's a picture of it. And overall, I thought Justin was a really nice guy. Everybody there, really friendly. And just, if you want to just see, even if everything is beyond your price tag or price bench, it's still just really cool to have a look at that stuff, like the 1958 Gibson Les Paul. It's like going into a guitar museum in a way. The fact that you can actually buy everything. So yeah, I had a great time there. It's just a really cool street in general, Denmark Street. If you walk up and down it, they have some really cool stores there. Some similar to Hank's, so legendary vintage gear, and some stuff just, brand new stuff, but still great store, great street to walk down for these different types of stores. So yeah, if you like this, please subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate it. Give me a like, also much appreciated. And I try to bring out a video like this every week now. Next week is going to be also a little special. I'll be getting a new kind of distortion pedal. You might have heard about it. It's I'm not going to give away too much, but it's a very unique kind of distortion. And also I've been working with the Ampete 444. If you're a cable management freak like I am, and also like to change different amps with different speakers without having to unplug, plug back in, using effects loop and everything, I might have a solution for you. So check that out. I'll be bringing that out either next week or week after next. I'm sure you'll enjoy it if you're an amp cabinet guy like me. So thanks again, everybody, and I still have a serious case of gas, just not the kind of gas where I can shell out 180,000 pounds for a Gibson 1958 Les Paul, but it's still a serious case of gas.